Hey everyone, grab a seat. Tonight's story is so wild it makes soap operas look boring. We're talking Portugal and its surprise superstar kid, Brazil. This isn't your grandma's history lesson. It's about explorers getting lost and somehow winning, a pope splitting the world like a pizza, and a tiny country accidentally making a giant one that loves coffee and dancing. How did Brazil become the only Portuguese-speaking giant in South America? Get ready for some serious "wait, what?" moments. Kings running from Napoleon and starting a new kingdom across the ocean, an emperor's own son declaring independence. This family drama is next level. We'll cover awesome discoveries, sad exploitation, and a culture so fun it makes you want to move. This is Portugal and Brazil, history's weirdest couple. Buckle up, this history ride is twisty. Let's go. This is gonna be good. Imagine Portugal in the 1400s. Spain's quieter neighbor, staring at the ocean wanting more. Not much good farmland, look to the sea. Led by royalty like Henry the Navigator, who paid for explorers more than he sailed himself. Portugal sent ships into the unknown. They wanted trade routes, gold spices, and maybe a tan. With star maps and bravery, Portuguese sailors mapped Africa's coast, going farther than anyone. Then boom, Vasco da Gama reaches India. Suddenly, Portugal is a big deal. They've got spices trading posts and are making European food taste, not terrible. Portugal went from zero to hero, while others were still messing around at home. All because they looked past their own backyard. The world changed forever. And Portugal, they were just getting warmed up. Not bad for a country the size of Indiana. Let's see what happens next. Let's talk Portuguese. It's like Latin took a vacation, got a tan, and came back with a lisp. Portuguese grew from Vulgar Latin, the everyday language of Roman soldiers. What makes it sound so cool? The sh sounds, the nasal vowels, and a musical rhythm, like a cat purring in a love song. Compared to Spanish, Portuguese sounds a bit sadder, especially in Portugal. There's saudade, a word for deep missing. Baked right in. You hear it in fado music, Portugal's blues. Fun fact. Portuguese, the language, is older than Portugal, the country. The language was waiting for a country to call it its own, like having a band name before you can play. That's super cool. Everyone knows Columbus, right? But Portugal was playing its own game of find the land. In 1500, Pedro Álvares Cabral sailed for India, but went west and landed in Brazil. Oops, maybe, or maybe destiny. They called it the Island of the True Cross, later Brazil. But how did it become Portuguese? Enter the Pope. In 1494, Spain and Portugal were fighting over the New World. So Pope Alexander VI drew a line, the Treaty of Tordesillas, west of the line Spain, east Portugal. Cabral's oops landing was on Portugal's side. Lucky, or a miracle if you're into that. That's why Brazil speaks Portuguese, surrounded by Spanish speakers. All thanks to a pope and some bad navigation. One of history's greatest, oops, we found a continent moments. And it changed everything. Brazil was on the map. Portugal's empire got huge. The world would never be the same. And Brazil's story was just starting. Portugal found Brazil. Now what? For a while, not much. They were busy with Asian spices. Early settlers liked Brazil wood, a tree for red dye. That's where the name Brazil comes from. Then came sugar, perfect climate, and Europe loved sweets. Brazil became a sugar factory, plantations grew, and people got rich. But here's the bad part. It was built on slavery. First, they tried enslaving indigenous people, but disease and fighting made that hard. So, millions of Africans were brought to Brazil to work on plantations and in mines. This awful system shaped Brazil's society and culture for centuries. The wealth, the cities, the culture, all built on suffering. It's a legacy that can't be ignored. Behind the sweet story of colonial Brazil is a bitter truth, and it would shape the nation forever. Fast forward to the 1800s, Europe is a mess thanks to Napoleon. Portugal, friends with Britain, is in trouble. In 1807, Prince Regent Dom João does something crazy. He packs up the whole royal court and sails to Brazil. The entire government moves to Rio de Janeiro. Suddenly, Rio is the center of the Portuguese Empire. Dom João loves Brazil. He opens ports, builds schools, and makes the colony better. Brazil is now a kingdom, equal to Portugal. Brazilians get a taste of power and their own identity. Back in Europe, Portugal feels abandoned. But for Brazil, it's a 10-year royal party, and it changes everything. Napoleon is gone, Europe chills out. Portugal wants its king back, especially after a revolution in 1820. King João VI goes back to Portugal in 1821, leaving his son, Dom Pedro, in charge of Brazil. Big mistake. Brazilians liked being special, not just a colony. The Portuguese parliament wanted to take away Brazil's new status and bring Dom Pedro home. Brazilians were mad. Dom Pedro had a choice, Dad or Brazil. On September 7, 1822, the story goes that Dom Pedro pulled out his sword and yelled, "Independence or death." Brazil was independent, declared by the Portuguese king's own son, who became Emperor Pedro I. It was one of the easiest independences ever. No big wars, just a tense family argument. Portugal finally accepted Brazil's independence in 1825 after some British talking to and a payout. It was less a nasty divorce, more a pricey, awkward breakup. Brazil was an empire with its own royal family. The world watched a new nation born. And the royal drama, not even close to over. Brazil's independence was unique, a mix of revolution and royal messiness. The people spoke and the empire was theirs. A new chapter was beginning, but the hard parts were just starting. Brazil had to figure itself out, without Portugal. The journey to becoming a real nation was underway, and the world would never be the same. Independence was just the start. The real story was about to begin, and Brazil was ready. Brazil is independent with Emperor Pedro I, but he's not popular and quits in 1831. His 5-year-old son, Pedro II, eventually becomes emperor at 14. Pedro II is a bookworm, loves art, and rules for almost 50 years. Brazil gets modern railroads, telegraphs, and coffee replaces sugar as the main export. But slavery is still a huge problem. Brazil is one of the last countries to get rid of it. Pedro II wants to end slavery, but rich plantation owners don't. In 1888, his daughter, Princess Isabel, signs the Golden Law, ending slavery. This makes the rich folks angry, and they want a republic. In 1889, a peaceful takeover ends the monarchy. Pedro II goes into exile, and Brazil becomes a republic. The bookworm emperor's time is over, but his legacy of progress stays. Brazil is a republic, ready for the future. The monarchy is gone, but the nation is stronger. The people have spoken, and Brazil moves on. The next chapter begins. Let's talk about what happened to Portuguese in Brazil. Brazilian Portuguese got a total makeover. More musical, smoother, with open vowels and a sing-song way of talking. If European Portuguese is a sad song, Brazilian Portuguese is a parade. Pronunciation is important. Brazilians add an E sound to words, making the language sound happy. The rhythm is more fluid, thanks to African influences and indigenous languages. Grammar and words changed with new slang and sayings. Voce is used for you, while Portugal uses tu. Brazilian Portuguese is diverse, with different accents from Rio to the German-sounding south. It's a language that feels alive, fun, and expressive. The sound of a nation that loves to party, even when asking for directions. Portuguese but with extra sparkle, and a cocktail in hand. That's Brazilian Portuguese. So what's the big idea? Portugal didn't just create Brazil. It spread its language and culture all over, from Macau to Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Timor-Leste. Portuguese is spoken everywhere. It's a language family with lots of accents and stories. Portuguese humor is dry and sarcastic. Brazilian humor is loud, playful, and straight up. The language carries history, explorers, missing home, African rhythms, Brazilian melodies. It's more than just talking. It's culture, identity, and a way of life. The taste of pastel de nata, the sound of bossa nova, the love of soccer. Portuguese is warm, expressive, and soulful. Whether European or Brazilian, it feels like home to over 260 million people. For everyone else, it shows that history is full of surprises. Sometimes the best things are happy accidents, like Brazil, and the story isn't over. The language, the culture, the feeling, they keep changing. And that's the magic of Portuguese.